Okay, for the next set of steps, we're going to need the transistor, which is this piece with 3 pins. You're going to need the amplifier breakout, which is this piece, and you're going to need the DAC breakout, which is this piece. You're also going to need some male header pins. We're going to cut these, and then the bottom is going to go through the board, and we'll solder that. All right, the transistor is going to go, you're going to match up the silk screen. The flat part should be at the bottom, towards the bottom of the board, and then these 3 pins should just go right through. You might have to manipulate them a little bit to get them in there. There we go. You don't want to push too far down, so there's going to be a little bit of a space. So it should end up looking about like that. So again, make sure you got the orientation correct. The bottom comes towards the bottom of the board. Okay, and we'll go ahead and inspect that before we cut it. It looks good. Okay. You can also check the clearance. So you can see it's about like that. You definitely don't want it too high. You want it just slightly above this integrated socket. And if it's a little too high, you can apply heat to the bottom and then push down with your finger, just on the transistor itself. But don't worry about it getting too perfect. You just need it to be able to clear, because we're later going to set the male or the female headers for the TFT screen here. So it all has to be able to clear that. All right, now this is where it gets a little tricky. So we've got our male header, and what I did, you got to look at the board. There's 9 pins here. So I went ahead and I'm with the Sharpie marker. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I marked it with I marked the 9th pin with a Sharpie. So what you want to do is you want to basically be able to get all these 9 pins, so you got to be careful. So the right way to do this, and you're also going to need 6 pins for the next one. Unfortunately, they just give you just enough pins. So a lot of times when you cut these, you end up losing a pin. We're going to try. So we're going to try to get our flush cutters right in between there. There's a little groove in between the pin. So you want to line it up just like that. And then you're going to apply some gentle pressure. There you go. Okay guys, before you solder any of these male headers in, put the chip on. You're going to want to have the chip in and seat it first. You could also just solder this one. I went ahead and soldered this one in first, but I wouldn't recommend doing that until you, because on this board, the board doesn't quite lay out perfectly, so you don't want to solder them all in. So go ahead and just dry fit it and then tape it. I went ahead and, like I said, I already soldered these in. So now I'm just going to finish these off. You don't want to solder both sets in, because if you do, you're probably going to have to desolder because it's just not a great fit. Or you can bend it with pliers optionally. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the amplifier. And instead of using the flush cutters, I'm just going to use my hands. So I seem to get a little bit better accuracy using my hands here. Yeah, it also doesn't eject as far. So you're going to need a set of 3 and then 3 sets of 2. Okay. Same drill here. Go ahead and put the long side in the breakout board first, because you don't want to try and solder these first. You're going to have problems. So put all these in. It's a little fiddly. Make sure you don't put them in upside down. The short side is on the bottom. Okay, I went ahead and set them in. So now I recommend using the tape method. Don't be afraid to just tape the whole thing down. All right, now we flip and then we solder. Make sure everything looks pretty even. It does. So we got that soldered in. Now we can come back, remove our tape. Okay. Now at this point, we've got all the boards in. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder to the tops. Be careful not to touch any of the resistors or other components on these boards, because you don't want to loosen those up on accident. Alright, so that one is now done. Let's see how that one looks. Okay, so we are done with step 3.